The email notification popped up on my phone while I was restocking protein powder at my supplement store. Subject line: Joint account alert, withdrawal $47,000. My hands didn't shake. I kept arranging the bottles in perfect rows while my brain processed what I already knew was coming. Mark had finally made his move. Another notification. This time a text message. Bianca, I'm done pretending. Skylar and I are starting our fitness empire in Los Angeles. I've taken what I'm owed from our account. You can keep your little vitamin shop. P.S. Maybe hit the gym yourself sometime? LOL. I watched Mrs. Chen approach the counter with her usual order of joint supplements. I smiled at her, like my husband of 10 years hadn't just stolen our money and insulted me in the same breath. Find everything okay, Mrs. Chen? Yes, dear. You always have exactly what I need. I rang up her purchase, wrapped it carefully, and handed her the bag. The moment she left, I locked the front door and flipped the sign to closed. It was 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Time to make some calls. I sat in my office behind the store and pulled out the folder I'd been building for 4 months. Mark thought he was so clever with his late-night gym sessions and password changes. He didn't know I'd been watching. The affair started 6 months ago when Skylar joined his gym as a personal trainer. She was 24, all Instagram filters and motivational quotes. Mark was 38, balding, and desperately trying to recapture his college athlete days. I'd found the hotel receipts in March. Charges to fancy restaurants on nights he claimed he was working late at the insurance office. The Ashley Madison notification that popped up on his iPad. The sudden interest in protein shakes and taking shirtless bathroom selfies. That same week in March, I'd open a new bank account at a different bank across town. I'd started moving money quietly. Our joint account, I'd left just enough to keep him from noticing. About 2 months of normal deposits. My real savings, the money from my supplement store that Mark called my cute little hobby, sat safely in my name only. I called my lawyer first. Jennifer answered on the second ring. He did it. I said simply, the account. Emptied. 47,000. Plus a lovely text message admitting everything. Jennifer laughed. Screenshot that immediately. Forwarded to me. This just got easier. Already done. What's next? I'll file the emergency petition today. We'll get a hearing by Friday. Forward me everything. The text, the bank alert, all the documentation we discussed. I hung up and opened my second folder. This one contained printed bank statements showing every suspicious charge Mark had made. Hotel rooms. Jewelry purchases I'd never received. Cash withdrawals that didn't match his stories. Gym membership for 2 people when I didn't go to his gym. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mark. Don't bother calling. Skylar and I are already on the road. We're going to be huge on social media. Real fitness couple goals. Something you'd never understand. I screenshot it and sent it to Jennifer with a smiley face emoji. The joint credit card was next. I called the company and explained the situation calmly. My husband just admitted via text message that he emptied our joint account. I have documentation. He's also charged several items on our joint card without authorization. I need to report fraud and remove him as an authorized user. The representative's tone shifted from routine to interested. Can you identify the fraudulent charges? 2 first-class plane tickets to Los Angeles booked this morning. Hotel reservation at the Roosevelt for 2 weeks. And he texted me bragging about using our card for his trip with his girlfriend. Ma'am, I can cancel those charges immediately and remove him from the account. Would you like to proceed? Yes, please. I'll email you the text messages as documentation. 5 minutes later, it was done. Mark and Skylar's tickets were invalidated. Their hotel reservation was canceled. The rental car he booked, gone. I allowed myself a small smile. They were probably somewhere on the highway right now, music blasting, dreaming of their influencer lifestyle. Tomorrow morning at LAX was going to be interesting. My phone started ringing around 7 p.m. Mark's mother. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. Finally, I answered. Bianca, what is going on? Mark says you've sabotaged his trip. He says you're being vindictive because he's finally choosing happiness. I put her on speaker and continued organizing my evidence folders. Did Mark mention that he emptied our joint account this morning? $47,000. Or that he used our joint credit card to book his romantic getaway with his 24-year-old girlfriend. Silence, because I have text messages where he brags about it. Would you like me to read them to you, including the part where he tells me to hit the gym? Well, Mark said you'd been distant, that you cared more about your store than your marriage. Linda, I've always liked you, but Mark stole from me and committed credit card fraud. My lawyer is filing papers tomorrow. I think it's best if we don't talk during the proceedings. Proceedings? Bianca, don't be hasty. I hung up. My phone immediately buzzed with texts from Mark. What did you do? Our tickets don't work. The hotel canceled. Answer me. I forwarded each one to Jennifer and silenced my phone. That evening, I walked through the house, my house that I'd inherited from my grandmother. Mark had spent years suggesting I add him to the deed. For tax purposes, he'd said, to simplify things. I'd always refused. Something in my gut told me to keep it in my name only. Now I understood why. I found our wedding album in the closet. Mark looked so different then. Normal haircut, clothes that fit, a genuine smile instead of the forced influencer grin he'd been practicing lately. These days he wore compression shirts 2 sizes too small. He'd started saying things like gains and beast mode and crushing it. He bought a ring light for his phone. At 38, he was trying to become a fitness influencer with a girl young enough to be his daughter. My phone kept buzzing. I checked it once. Mark's sister, Amanda, what's happening? Mark is freaking out saying you ruined everything. I typed back. Ask him about the $47,000 he stole from our joint account this morning. I have screenshots. Then I poured myself a glass of wine and started planning. By Thursday morning, the full picture emerged through mutual friends. Mark and Skylar had made it to Los Angeles using his personal credit card, except his personal credit cards were already maxed out, something I'd noticed months ago but never mentioned. They'd ended up at a Super 8 near the airport, definitely not the influencer lifestyle they'd imagined. Skylar had been posting their journey on Instagram, photos of them in the car with captions like chasing dreams with my king and real love means taking risks. The comments were mostly from her friends hyping them up. Then the posts changed. A blurry photo of a motel room. Caption, temporary setback. Real entrepreneurs adapt. My friend Keisha sent me screenshots. Girl, is this your mark? Not anymore. I replied. Jennifer called with an update. Emergency hearing is set for Friday at 2 p.m. The judge reviewed your evidence. Mark's text messages are, let's just say they're not helping his case. Admitting to taking the money, bragging about it, the girlfriend, the insults, it's all documented. Has he been served yet? Process server is delivering papers to the Super 8 this afternoon. I smiled. Perfect timing. Friday morning, I opened my supplement store as usual. Word had apparently spread because several regular customers came in specifically to check on me. Bianca, honey, we heard about Mark, Mrs. Chin said, squeezing my hand. Men like that never appreciate what they have. Another customer, Patricia, was more direct. My ex tried the same thing. Thought he'd take everything. Ended up with nothing because I kept good records. I hope you did too. I did, I assured her. The support was unexpected and touching. 3 women bought extra products they didn't need just to show solidarity. One of them confided that her ex had also left her for a younger woman. They always think the grass is greener, she said. Then they realize they're just older, broker, and alone. My phone buzzed. Mark's lawyer had entered an appearance. Some guy named Brad, who apparently specialized in quick divorces. Jennifer had already sent me his information. Graduated bottom of his class. She'd noted, "This will be fun." At 1 p.m., I closed the store early and headed to the courthouse. Time to face Mark for the first time since his grand exit. Mark showed up to court wearing a tight athletic shirt with his new gym's logo and designer sneakers that probably cost $300. His hair was gelled into some kind of influencer style. He looked ridiculous. Skylar waited outside the courtroom, scrolling through her phone. She was pretty in that generic Instagram way. Lots of makeup, hair extensions, outfit clearly chosen for content. Mark glared at me across the courtroom. I smiled politely and sat down next to Jennifer. "Your Honor," Jennifer began, "my client's husband sent her a text message yesterday morning admitting he had emptied their joint account of $47,000. He then used their joint credit card to book travel and accommodations for himself and his girlfriend. We have all communications documented." She projected Mark's texts onto the courtroom screen. "I'm done pretending. Skylar and I are starting our fitness empire in Los Angeles. I've taken what I'm owed from our account." The judge raised an eyebrow. Mark shifted uncomfortably in his cheap plastic chair. "Mr. Harrison, did you send these messages?" "Your Honor, I was just trying to make a clean break." "By committing theft and fraud." Mark's lawyer jumped in. "Your Honor, my client admits to some rash decisions." "Rash decisions?" Jennifer interrupted. "Or premeditated theft." Jennifer methodically presented our evidence. The timeline of suspicious charges, the hotel receipts, the jewelry purchases, the cash withdrawals, every piece carefully documented over 4 months of quiet observation. Furthermore, Jennifer continued, "Mrs. Harrison owns her business outright. The supplement store was established before the marriage and has been maintained as a separate entity. We have documentation of every investment and withdrawal. Mr. Harrison has no claim to it, despite his text messages suggesting otherwise." She projected another message, "You can keep your little vitamin shop." Additionally, the marital home was inherited by Mrs. Harrison from her grandmother. The deed has always been solely in her name. Mr. Harrison has no ownership claim, despite his text message suggesting he would let her stay there. Another projection, "Don't worry about the house. I'll let you stay there until you find something smaller." The judge looked at Mark with obvious distaste. "Mr. Harrison, did you actually believe you had ownership rights to property clearly titled in your wife's name?" Mark's face reddened. "The business grew during our marriage. I supported her." "Supported her?" Jennifer pulled out more evidence. "These are social media posts where Mr. Harrison called his wife's business a cute hobby and suggested she stop playing store." The judge had seen enough. The court finds sufficient evidence of financial misconduct. All remaining shared assets are frozen immediately pending final dissolution. Mr. Harrison, you are ordered to return the $47,000 removed from the joint account within 72 hours. "But that money is gone," Mark protested. "We spent it on." "Then I suggest you find a way to replace it." The judge cut him off. "And Mr. Harrison, The court takes a very dim view of using shared credit cards to fund trips with girlfriends. Consider yourself fortunate. I'm not pursuing criminal charges at this time. Brad, Mark's lawyer, tried one more time. Your Honor, perhaps we could work out a payment plan. Your client admitted to theft via text message and bragged about it. He has 72 hours. Next case. Outside the courthouse, I heard Skylar asking Mark about their plans. I thought you said she'd just cry and let you go? I thought you said you'd get half her business. Mark's response was drowned out by the sound of my heels clicking confidently across the courthouse steps. Jennifer squeezed my shoulder. That went even better than expected. His own messages destroyed him. The next 3 weeks brought a cascade of consequences I hadn't even planned for. Mark's company launched an HR investigation into his relationship with Skylar. Apparently, she'd been complaining to co-workers about their situation, and someone reported that Mark had been her supervisor when they started dating. The investigation resulted in a formal reprimand, and Mark being moved to a different department with no direct reports. The promotion he'd been expecting went to someone else. Amanda, Mark's sister, stopped by my store unexpectedly. I owe you an apology, she said, running her fingers along the display of vitamin bottles. Mark told us you'd been controlling and cold, that you'd driven him away. We believed him. And now I've seen his text messages. The way he bragged about taking your money, the things he said about your age and your business. That's not the brother I thought I knew. She bought $200 worth of supplements and promised to send her friends. For what it's worth, she added, Skylar left him, moved on to some other guy at the gym. Mark's staying at Mom's house now. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I opened a second location of my supplement store. The irony wasn't lost on me. While Mark was rebuilding his life from his childhood bedroom, my little vitamin shop was expanding. I'd hired 4 new employees and launched an online store that was gaining serious traction. Turns out, people appreciated knowledgeable service and quality products. Who knew? News of Mark's situation trickled back through mutual friends. He'd tried dating apps, but found women his age weren't interested in a guy living with his parents. Younger women, having heard about his history through gym gossip, avoided him. Skylar had apparently warned her friends, sharing screenshots of his desperate attempts to win her back. His career had stalled. The HR reprimand stayed in his file. He'd tried claiming age discrimination when he got passed over for another promotion, which just added more documentation to his record. Jennifer kept me updated on his attempts to challenge the divorce settlement. Each petition was denied. He actually tried arguing that his text about emptying the account was just a joke, she told me, laughing. The judge asked if haha made theft legal. My business success brought unexpected attention. A local magazine wanted to feature my story, not as a wronged wife, but as a savvy entrepreneur who'd protected her interests. How did you know to keep everything separate? The reporter asked. Instinct, I replied, and maybe a little bit of watching my grandmother run her own business. She always said, love your partner, but protect your assets. The article came out with the headline, Local Entrepreneur Builds Supplement Empire Through Smart Planning. Mark's name wasn't mentioned once. My story had evolved beyond him. Young business owners started reaching out for advice. I always emphasize the same points. Separate business and personal finances. Document everything. Trust your instincts. The best protection is preparation. I told one young woman who reminded me a bit of Skylar. And never let anyone make you feel small for building something. Linda, Mark's mother, called occasionally, usually after Mark had done something particularly self-destructive. He got involved in some cryptocurrency scheme, she sighed during one call. Lost another $5,000 trying to make quick money. I listened politely, but kept my distance. 1 year after the divorce, I hosted a grand opening for my third location. Local media showed up. The story they wanted wasn't about my failed marriage. It was about a successful businesswoman expanding her brand. During the event, someone unexpected walked in. Skylar. She looked different. Less makeup, more natural. She shifted uncomfortably, clutching a small purse. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "I believed everything Mark told me, that you were cold and controlling, that you didn't support his dreams, that your business was just a hobby." I continued arranging a display of protein powders, letting her talk. Then I watched him use the same manipulation tactics on me. When your lawyer froze the accounts, he expected me to pay for everything. He complained about my apartment being too small. He had all these big plans, but no way to fund them. Everything was always going to work out next month or once his investments paid off. I actually laughed at that. Let me guess. Cryptocurrency? Day trading? Some online course about passive income? All of the above. She shook her head. I'm dating someone my own age now. We have student loans and a small apartment, but at least we're building something real. After Skylar left, my assistant manager whispered, "Was that the girlfriend?" "That was just another woman who learned the same lesson I did." I replied, "Speaking of lessons, let's talk about your idea for expanding our protein powder line." The business had become more than just income. It was a symbol of independence, of resilience, of what happens when you prepare instead of panic. I kept Mark's cruel text message framed in my office, not as a reminder of pain, but as proof of how far I'd come. Below it, I'd hung a plaque from the Chamber of Commerce naming my business Small Business of the Year. Mark's mother called one last time, not to discuss Mark, but to thank me. "You taught our family an important lesson about enabling bad behavior," she said. "Mark's still at home, still blaming everyone else. But we're not defending him anymore. We're not making excuses for his cruelty. That's your legacy to our family, showing us the difference between supporting someone and enabling them." I thought about that as I reviewed plans for a fourth location. Mark had intended to diminish me, to trade me in for a younger model and take half of everything I'd built. Instead, he pushed me to become even stronger, more successful, more confident. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. Mark filed another petition to revisit the settlement. Judge dismissed it immediately and ordered him to pay court costs. "Thought you'd enjoy that update." I smiled, thinking of him in his childhood bedroom, still trying to rewrite an ending that had been determined the moment he underestimated me. The fourth location opened in a busy shopping district downtown. I'd hired a total of 12 employees now. We'd started offering nutrition consultations and meal planning services. The little vitamin shop now had a website, social media presence, and loyal customer base. We were getting orders from across the state. One afternoon, a young woman came in looking nervous. She bought some basic supplements, then lingered by the counter. "Can I ask you something personal?" she finally said. "Sure." "Are you the owner whose story was in the magazine about protecting your business during your divorce?" "That's me." She looked relieved. "My boyfriend keeps pressuring me to add him to my business account. Says it shows I trust him. But something feels wrong about it." I invited her to sit down in my office. "Trust your instincts," I said. "Love and business are separate things. You can love someone completely and still maintain financial boundaries. That's not distrust, that's wisdom." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "Everyone says I'm being paranoid." My ex-husband said the same thing, right up until he tried to claim half my business in our divorce. Protecting yourself isn't paranoia. It's smart. She left with more than supplements. She left with validation that her instincts were right. This happened more and more often. Women seeking advice, sharing their stories, finding strength in mine. 2 years after Mark's text message, I received an invitation to speak at a women's business conference. The topic, building and protecting your business. During the Q&A, someone asked, how do you balance protecting yourself with being open to love? I thought about Mark in his childhood bedroom, about the life he'd thrown away, about the empire I'd built from his ashes. You can be open to love and still maintain boundaries, I replied. The right person won't ask you to make yourself vulnerable to prove your trust. They'll respect your wisdom. Through mutual friends, I heard Mark had finally moved out of his parents' house into a small apartment above a garage. He'd taken a lower-paying job after his insurance company downsized. His dating profile apparently still listed him as young at heart with a photo from 3 years ago. He was still trying to be an influencer, posting workout videos that got maybe 20 views. Skylar, ironically, had become a regular customer at my original location. She'd finished her business degree and started a social media consulting company. You inspired me, she told me once. Showed me what a woman can build when she stops falling for empty promises. The 5th location opened in an upscale neighborhood. My cute little hobby now employed 22 people and had been featured in several fitness and business magazines. I'd been invited to join the Chamber of Commerce board. Local colleges asked me to speak to their business students. A regional supplement company wanted to discuss a partnership. Mark's text message, the one meant to diminish me, had become the catalyst for success beyond anything I'd imagined. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. At the 5-year anniversary celebration of my original location, I stood before employees, customers, and local business leaders. The space had been transformed from a single small shop into the flagship store of a thriving business empire. Linda attended, though I hadn't sent her an invitation. She waited until the crowd thinned to approach me. I saw Mark yesterday, she said, smoothing her designer dress, one she'd bought from a boutique, but she'd mentioned she wished she'd bought supplements from me instead. He was talking about his glory days, about the life he could have had. He still doesn't understand that he didn't lose everything in the divorce. He threw it away. I thought about that text message, his casual cruelty, his assumption that I would crumble without him. Instead, I'd built something stronger than before. Each new location was a testament to what happens when you stop dimming your light for insecure people. A young woman I'd hired last month, coincidentally also into fitness, came over with a question about our new inventory system. As I explained the process, I caught my reflection in the store window. I saw what Mark had failed to see 5 years ago. Not a woman getting older, but one getting wiser, stronger, more successful. His cruel text message was meant to be an ending. Instead, it had been a beginning. Not just for me, but for every woman who heard my story and realized she deserved better than someone else's midlife crisis. I'd framed that original text in the main office where all my employees could see it. You can keep your little vitamin shop. Maybe hit the gym yourself sometime? LOL. Below it hung our latest revenue report. 5 locations, 22 employees, 7 figures in annual sales. The young employee looked at the frame and then at me. Is that real? Very real. That's what my ex-husband sent me the day he left. What happened to him? He's still trying to become an influencer. Last I heard, he's got about 200 followers. She laughed. And you? I gestured around the thriving store. I stopped trying to prove anything to anyone. I just focused on building something real. That night, I reviewed contracts for the 6th location, a prime spot in the city's busiest shopping district. The landlord had actually reached out to me, having heard about my business's success. Mark would have called it impossible, too ambitious. above my pay grade. But Mark wasn't here. Mark was posting gym selfies to his 200 followers and living in an apartment above a garage. Meanwhile, I was building an empire from the ashes of his betrayal. Jennifer called with her final update. Mark's lawyer filed a motion to reduce the amount he owes you from the joint account. The judge didn't even hold a hearing, just denied it and added another $500 in sanctions for filing a frivolous motion. How much does he still owe? With interest and court costs, about $53,000 now. The court set up a payment plan. He'll be paying you for the next 7 years. I smiled. Every month for the next 7 years, Mark would be reminded of his choice. Every payment would be a small acknowledgement that his little vitamin shop owner had outsmarted him completely. The 6th location opened to a line of customers around the block. Local news covered it. The headline, Local Supplement Empire Continues Expansion. My employees wore matching shirts with our logo, a design I created myself. Professional, clean, successful. Everything Mark said I could never be. 3 years after that text message, I sat in a conference room with investors. They wanted to discuss franchising opportunities. Your business model is solid, one investor said. You've built something scalable. We're interested in helping you expand nationally. National expansion. The little vitamin shop going nationwide. I thought about Mark's text, about his assumption that I'd crumble, about his belief that Skylar and her youth were more valuable than my experience and work ethic. I'm interested, I told the investors, but I want to maintain quality control. This isn't just about expansion. It's about building something lasting. They agreed. We shook hands. Plans were made for 10 new locations over the next 2 years. Walking to my car, I passed a gym. Through the window, I saw someone who looked like Mark, balding, slightly overweight, wearing clothes too young for him, trying to film a workout video while other gym-goers ignored him. It might not have been Mark, but it could have been. I drove to my house, the one Mark thought he'd have a claim to, the one he'd never owned a piece of, the one that was always mine. Inside, I poured a glass of wine and opened my laptop. The business email was full of messages, partnership opportunities, speaking requests, interview invitations. A podcast wanted to feature my story. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. Mark's asking family members for money again. Says he's got a sure thing investment opportunity. Just wanted to warn you in case he tries to contact you. He won't, I replied. I blocked him 2 years ago. Smart. Mom and Dad cut him off too. He's on his own now. I set down my phone and looked around my home office. Framed magazine covers featuring my business. Awards from the Chamber of Commerce. Photos of each location's grand opening. On my desk sat that original text message, now laminated and mounted. You can keep your little vitamin shop. I'd kept it, and I'd built it into something he never imagined possible. The best revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about building something so successful that their insults become compliments. Their mockery becomes motivation. Their betrayal becomes your breakthrough. Mark thought he was writing the ending to our story with that cruel text. Instead, he'd written my beginning. 5 years after that text arrived, I stood on a stage at a national business conference. The auditorium was packed with entrepreneurs, business owners, and people who wanted to learn how to build something lasting. The day my ex-husband sent me a text saying he'd emptied our bank account and was leaving me for someone younger, I had a choice. I told the audience. I could panic, or I could execute the plan I'd been quietly building for months. I clicked to the next slide, a photo of my first small store. He called this my little vitamin shop. He told me to keep it like it was worthless. Today, That little shop has grown into 15 locations across 3 states with national franchising and development. The audience applauded. I clicked to the next slide, Mark's text message. I keep this as a reminder, not of the pain, but of the power of preparation, of trusting your instincts, of protecting what you build. After my speech, dozens of people approached with questions. Young entrepreneurs wanting advice, people facing their own betrayals. Business owners are learning to protect their assets. I answered each question, shared each lesson, and offered each piece of advice I'd learned the hard way. That evening, I checked my business email. The franchise contracts were ready for review. Location 16 was scheduled to open next month. And somewhere, Mark was probably posting another gym selfie to his followers, still wondering where it all went wrong. He'd never understand that he didn't lose me in that divorce. I'd simply stopped being someone who could be taken for granted. And that made all the difference.